Good evening, dear students. Welcome back again with a new session of Science Standard 8, Lesson number 6, Composition of Matter. Now, first of all, we are going to discuss about certain basic things which you have already studied in 7th standard. Now, certain questions will be asked which you have to give the answer of that. Now, those questions are: what are the physical states of matter, which is there in your textbook? Definitely you are knowing it. That is three physical states of matter: solid, liquid, and gas. Then different types of matter. That is nothing but matter is made up of elements, compounds, and mixtures. So, in this lesson, we are going to study in detail about solid, liquid, gas, elements, mixture, and compound. Now, objects that occupy space and have mass are known as matter. Matter can be further classified on the basis of the states, that is, solid, liquid, and gases. The particles of solid, liquid, and gases vibrate constantly. Atoms of molecules in matter have intermolecular force of attraction that determines the extent of vibration of the particles. Now, in solid substances, the molecules are very close to each other, and therefore vibration of the particle is too much, and therefore they are very hard. The strength of intermolecular force is strongest in solids. So, the particles in solids are closely closely packed and vibrate at their fixed positions. This leads to the properties of solids such as definite shape and volume, high density, and non compressibility. The intermolecular force of attraction among the particles in liquids is moderate. In solid, they are very rigid, they are very close to each other, whereas in case of liquid, it is moderate. It can hold the particles together, but it is not enough to fix them in a definite position. So, liquids have fixed volumes, they do not have fixed shape, and can easily flow. The intermolecular forces of attraction among the particles of gases are very weak. So you can say you can experience it that particles of gases you cannot see with your naked eyes, though particles are present. Like for example, air we cannot see, but we can feel it. Those molecules are very far away from each other. So what properties do they have? They are totally different. The intermolecular forces of attraction in the gases is very weak, and therefore molecules are maximum apart from each other, and therefore the space required for them is more as compared to solid and liquid. They have the characteristics of flowing, they flow in all possible directions. Gases do not have definite shape and volume. Another method of classification of matter is in terms of chemical composition, that is, element, compounds, and mixture. Element consists of only one type of atoms or molecules. The smallest particles in elements are the atoms. They are two they are two or more atoms of the same element in the molecules of the element. For example, the molecules of element nitrogen have two atoms of nitrogen chemically bonded together. Compound consists of atoms of two or more different elements that are bound together by chemical combination. For example, water. In water, two elements are there, hydrogen and oxygen. Both are different, and therefore it is a compound. The position of the elements that chemically combine to form a compound is always constant. The properties of compound are entirely different from those of the constituent elements. Molecules are formed by chemical combination of two or more than two types of atoms. Mixtures are physical combination of more than one type of elements and of compounds. The components in a mixture are not chemically combined and retain their respective properties. Also, the components of mixture may not be present in a fixed proportion. For example, if you make a sharbat, sometimes the concentration or the amount of sugar and salt vary depending upon the taste, and therefore fixed amount is not possible in case of mixture. Whereas in case of compound, the constituents are in fixed amount or fixed proportion. That is the main difference between compound and mixture. In mixture, there is no chemical reaction taking place and therefore the change is temporary. Whereas in case of compound, the chemical reaction take place and therefore the changes become permanent. In mixtures, sometimes substances can be easily obtained by any physical means, whereas in case of compounds, it is very difficult to obtain the original substance by any physical means. Now, that can be explained with the help of certain examples. Like, for example, water. Now, what is the molecular formula of water? H2O. And it is which type of matter? It is called as compound. Now, carbon. Chemical formula C, and type of matter again it is the carbon. Oxygen O2. Then air. Air is nothing but mixture of various gases like nitrogen, oxygen, argon, water, carbon dioxide, etc. So it is called as a mixture. Aluminium, pure one element, that is aluminium. Whereas case of brass, brass is a mixture of copper and zinc and therefore it is called as a mixture. Whereas in case of carbon dioxide, the molecular formula is CO2 and therefore it is called as a compound. Now, differences between element, compound and mixtures, which is already given in your textbook. This is a part of your textbook. It's very much easy to understand. You can see nitrogen, all like elements are there. In case of nitrogen molecule, you can see here compound C, you can see two different round circles are there. Indicate that two different elements they combine in a fixed proportion. They are called as molecules. Whereas in case of mixtures, different substances they are mixed in any proportion. They are called as mixture. Another example they have given oxygen O2, carbon dioxide compound example is nitrogen oxide NO, whereas in case of mixture another example is nitrogen oxygen, mixture of nitrogen oxygen. Another difference, constituent substances of element is only one and it is that element itself. So only one constituent element is there, not more than one. Whereas in case of compound, the constituent of a substance of compound is only one and it is compound itself. The constituent substance of a mixture are two or more elements and or two compounds. So, all the atom molecules of an element are alike. All are same. They are exactly carbon copy of each other. Whereas in case of compounds, all the molecules of compounds are alike. But in case of mixture, atoms molecules of a mixture are two or more different types. All the atoms in a molecule of an element are alike and are joined to each other by chemical bonds. Whereas in case of compound, constituent atom of a molecule of a compound are of two or more different types and are joined to each other by chemical bonds. The constituent molecules of mixtures are different from each other and are not joined by any chemical bonds. Atoms or molecules of different elements are different. The proportion of constituent elements in a compound is constant, whereas in case of mixture, it is different. The properties of compounds are different than those of the constituent elements. For example, hydrogen and oxygen. Hydrogen is highly combustible and oxygen supports combustion. But when they form a compound like water, they are responsible to extinguish the fire. So, hydrogen and oxygen is different from water. The properties of constituents of substances are retained in the mixture. For example, sharbat. The constituent of sharbat is water, salt, and sugar and lemon. Each has its own typical taste and it can be separated by any of the physical means and original substance can be retained back. Now, certain experiments are done in your textbook, and based on that, we will try to understand certain concepts. Take the following objects like iron, nail, or sheet, copper wire, aluminium wire, a piece of coal. Rub each object on a fresh surface of sandpaper and observe. Hammer each object with a force. Take care not to hurt yourself. Record your observation in the following table. So the answer is given here as now iron nail, is it shining? Of course it is shining. Does it get flattened? Yes, it gets flattened. Same way for the copper wire also, and same thing for the aluminium wire. But in case of a coal piece, it does not get shining and it breaks out into small pieces. Now another experiment to understand the concept or understand the properties of the elements. The object in the above activity are made up of elements iron, copper, aluminium and carbon. Fill the following table on the basis of the observations obtained on doing the test. Now what is it? Elements having shining surface, iron, copper and aluminium. Elements that flatten on hammering, iron, copper and aluminium. Elements with dull surface, carbon. Elements that break on hammering, again it is carbon. Now one more experiment here. Certain substances we have to heat it and we have to observe what are its effects. Like for example, if you heat camphor, after heating it, no residue left out. But when you heat limestone, washing soda, blue vitriol, sugar, glucose, urea, certain black color substance or certain substance remains on the dish. Now, it may be either white color or black color. Like for example, washing soda, blue vitriol and limestone. If you will heat it, white color substance remain. Whereas when you heat sugar, glucose and urea, black color substance remains. Now these white color substances are nothing but salts and black color substance is nothing but the black color carbon. So here on this basis different types of compounds are also being classified and elements are also being classified. Now elements are classified as metals, non-metals and metalloids, whereas compounds are classified into simple compounds and complex compounds. It can be organic as well as inorganic compounds. Let's discuss about that. Elements can be further classified as metals, non-metals and metalloids. Compounds can be broadly divided into organic compounds and inorganic compounds. Organic compounds are called as carbon compound because carbon is invariably a main constituent of these compounds. These compounds leave black residue after incomplete combustion. On the contrary, inorganic substances decompose on strong heating and leave a residue. Molecules of some compounds have very complex structure and typically have a metal atom at its center. Such compounds are complex compounds. For example, chlorophyll contains magnesium, hemoglobin contains iron, vitamin B12 contains cobalt. These are the example of complex compounds. Remaining part of this lesson, we'll discuss it in the next video. Till then, have a great day.